underperforming employees. In this video, we will continue the conversation that we started last week around one of the core reasons, which is one of the hardest actually to manage when an employee underperforms because they're not motivated to do a good job or to do their job at all. In this video, we'll talk about the other factors. So the acronym, or the easiest, simplest model that I invite you to consider when you're dealing with underperformance of employees is something called MARS. Motivation, abilities, role perception, and situational factors. That is the ecosystem within which an employee operates. And for you to address and support the underperformance of a certain employee means working with the employee to understand what is the root cause or causes that may be impacting this employee's underperformance. So, abilities. It usually is assumed that because somebody was hired into the job, they will know what to do in that job. They have the knowledge, skills, and abilities, the competencies, to do a good job. But the reality is, yes, there is some expertise that people bring across different jobs, but if somebody is new to the organization, there may be unique factors, the softwares you use, the processes you have. It may be something as basic as they're a great developer, but they don't know the systems that you use, or how work gets done, or who to ask for information. It could also be that somebody has been a wonderful performer in their last job, they got promoted to a new role, and now they are feeling that they are out of their depth. These are new skills, abilities, and knowledge that they need to get in order to perform in their new role. So there are so many different reasons why somebody may not have the abilities to actually perform really well on the job. When you're assessing and working with this person, it is hard. Honestly, most people find it really difficult to admit that they don't know something. Being a beginner or accepting that I may not have the knowledge, skills, or abilities to do something requires profound humility. As a manager, instead of expecting that you should figure it out, yes, they should, they could, but as a manager, it is in your best interest to create a very humble and positive environment where they feel comfortable letting you know if they don't know something. Because the more safe they feel in being able to articulate what they don't know, the more likely you are to fill that gap so that they can continue on to perform better. So one of the questions you can ask them is, what knowledge, skills, or abilities would you need to help get your job done? Another possibility is you can think proactively about what are all the things from an onboarding perspective. What are the policies? What are the relationships? What are the systems that this person needs to be onboarded onto so that they can immediately, or at least expeditiously, start delivering on their new role? The other thing worth asking is building that capacity in this employee to say, who have you observed doing a fantastic job? Who could you ask for support? Who would you like to role model? These are questions that can help this employee reflect on how other people are performing in their environment, who they may use as a resource. You are helping this person build their own capacity for learning. The other invitation can be about training and development in a more formal capacity. So think about orientation or onboarding programs, training programs that they could be sent to, or learning and development programs, whether online or specialist programs that they may want to attend, conferences they may want to go to, journals they may want to subscribe, so that they are really keeping up to date with the knowledge that they need in order to deliver on the job. There are so many aspects of the abilities piece, no matter which option you choose, whether it's inviting them to reflect on where the gaps are, showing them what are the critical basic knowledge, skills, and abilities they need, helping them identify resources and pairing them with those resources with an expectation to mentor and support, and last, formal training and development opportunities. The next step is follow-up. It is your job to make sure that there is transfer of learning, Just because someone attended a conference or went to a course does not mean they know how to apply that in the context of their current job. Have that conversation. If they haven't done that thinking themselves, invite them to say, so based on everything that you've learned, how would that apply in the current role now? Or which specific knowledge, skills, or abilities that you gained through these different sources can expedite or help you get the job done. Helping build those connections, ensuring that there is a transfer of learning. And the other piece about skill is once they've learned something, it will take some time to climb up that learning curve so that they build the confidence and the expertise to do that job independently and do it well. Your job as a manager in filling that gap and supporting the abilities piece is those 4 pieces, and then continuous check and reinforcement until they get to a place where they're not only not underperforming, but they feel confident and start delivering at the level that you expect them to deliver. The third aspect, which has a huge influence on why somebody may be underperforming, is are they clear about their role? Role clarity, the R in Mars. It is amazing with the amount of change and turbulence and uncertainty and ambiguity in which people work in the world today. So many people are not actually clear about all the expectations that anyone has of them. What is their job? What is the full extent of their job? So we'll look at the different reasons or factors that contribute to lack of role clarity, which immediately and directly influences someone's performance. Because if you're going to measure them on are they doing a good job, isn't the first contingency, do they understand what the job is, the full scope of the job? Clarity, which is a huge component that we work on in executive coaching, both for your personal clarity of what you want to accomplish at work in your career. Clarity is something that has to be sought. It can't be given to you. So either the employee is coming to you to ask you questions to clarify expectations, or as I've said before, the foundation of performance management is start by clarifying expectations, which means are you clear? Have you communicated those expectations, the full scope of the job to the employees? Starting with a clear job description. The number of generic job descriptions I see or have seen as a head of HR for 2 large organizations, well, it can be so disappointing, and it's not HR's fault. There usually is a lot on the go, but imagine, the simplest example I'll give you. Imagine you're looking for an assistant, okay? What do you expect an excellent assistant would do? That varies, that role perception and the clarity of that role would vary depending on who the executive is. So if you use something as a generic job description of what an assistant should do you think you will be satisfied with the performance unless you get somebody who's just so motivated, has exceptional experiences and abilities, and seeks out information from you so that they can meet those expectations, and that you've set them up for success with the situational piece of giving them the resources they need and helping them be successful. That's rare. So when I talk about role clarity, starting with make sure your job description actually is specific to the job. And when you hand that off to your new employee or the person in a new role, translate that about what does that look day to day, on a weekly basis, on a quarterly basis, and at the end of the year. Of course, clarity will also emerge over time. The more they work on the job and the more feedback you provide them, the more they will understand what the expectations are. One of the reasons role clarity may be low is when multiple people are doing the exact same job and there is tons of interdependency between people. So if you have a work culture on your team where people jump in at all stages of delivering a certain project, but there's no system, so you're not really, unless there's absolutely amazing ongoing communication, you don't know where somebody has left off and what pieces have not been picked up or what needs to be the foci of your future work or this day's work. In that kind of environment, you are now contingent on communication and the lack of systems approach to understand who is doing what. If you work in such an environment, how you gain role clarity or can provide that for your underperformer is to make sure that the communication is ongoing and ask this person to proactively take the initiative to ask questions to clarify where we are in the process. So those are some aspects that the person can work on. Right now, turnover is high across industries. So if you have even a single person on the team quit or be fired or move to a different department or different role, it changes the dynamics of the whole team. And if people are picking up slack, because it takes a long time to fill not just the position, but also the productivity gap caused by one person's exit, that creates a profound opportunity and an ongoing opportunity for lack of role clarity. So change, huge component. Communication, whether that's ongoing or not, and clarifying questions or directions. These all come together to help your employees understand what is expected. The other way, if you can't be everywhere, this is not the only team you manage, the other way you can give people role clarity is by articulating how you will measure their performance. What are your key performance indicators? And then are you providing feedback on an ongoing basis about whether somebody is meeting your expectations or not? The last piece I will talk about in role clarity is for the high performers who often take on a lot and are happy to go above and beyond. All that discretionary effort can sometimes create a scope creep. You no longer remember what is not your job. You may not be compensated for it, but your team and your manager gets used to that very high performance and contributions that you make. And if someday you're not making those contributions anymore, that may muddy the waters of, but you do that. You've done that for the last 3 months. Yes, you may think you were picking up slack because there was a gap on the team, but there may be a completely different expectation that you as a manager are showing for this person who was a high performer, went above and beyond, but now there is a mix-up of what the expectations of the role are. It is so important that role clarity is an ongoing conversation between you and the team. It's even more important if you feel someone is slipping and not performing to the standard that you want them to perform. You commit to offering that clarity, encouraging the person to seek that clarity, and that ongoing communication and feedback should address if the underperformance is rooted in lack of role clarity. These two factors, abilities and role clarity, relatively speaking, are easier for you to address as a manager if they turn out to be the sources of underperformance for your employees. When you think about the simple framework of Mars, anytime you're handling or dealing with performance of employees, you look at these 4 factors and identify if motivation is the issue. Try this video here. This video, we talked about the abilities and the role clarity piece. And in the next video, we'll talk about the situational factors, both perhaps in their personal lives or outside at work. So if you're curious about that, and if you haven't subscribed for alerts related to the videos, please do so. If you know someone who would benefit from learning about different ways and a simple framework to identify correctly the root source of any underperformance and then strategies to fix it, please share it with them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.